more as far as production on it. I mean, again, to say with the movie, there's a lot of, like we've been saying, the word of the podcast is nuance. Like, there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
like really fun lyrical moments in the movie, like in how does do you solve a problem like Maria. One of my favorite lyrics is, she sets a whirling dervish out of whirl, and you're like, how freaking brilliant is that?
I
Like, it's in the
know.
song, and it's like that song is like so repetitive, but it's like the alliteration that Hammerstein uses is so good. Um,
It's brilliant.
there,
Well, and also Richard Rodgers wrote those two new songs on his own.
well, he wrote, and actually, speaking of Saul, I think it was Saul Chaplin. He
Mm-hmm.
The original "I Have Confidence." Fun fact about the music: the original "I Have Confidence" was super somber, like the one that Richard Rodgers wrote was like super somber, depressing. So I think it was Saul Chaplin who was like basically the music supervisor on the film, like took bits and pieces of it and made it what it is. So like even though Richard Rodgers is credited for writing it and he wrote the bones for it, I think it was Saul Chaplin. Julie talks about it in her book. But
Mm-hmm.
it was I think it was him who like he basically made "I Have Confidence" the way he is. And Richard Rodgers was like, I don't like your version, but like I'll okay it for the film. Like he would have rather
Right.
the somber version.
Well, and what I heard was Julie Andrews did not know until sometime after that Saul Chaplin had done that to the
She didn't
song.
know. And he
Yeah,
specifically said that he didn't tell her because she would have freaked he knew she would have freaked out if he told her. And she was like, "You're not
right.
wrong."
Another thing that I wanted to talk about that I completely forgot to talk about was it was shot in Todd AO, which everybody talks about. Like, these films were shot in Todd AO. They don't talk about what Todd AO is. Todd AO was developed by a man named Mike Todd and a company named American Optical, and it was first used on the 1955 film Oklahoma. So it was like it was shot on 70 millimeter, which is a very big, wide film, and it's very sharp because it can capture so much image. So it's a very crisp, sharp picture, beautiful color palette. And Todd AO, what it did was it pretty much turned the screen into what we might consider now IMAX, this incredible aspect ratio, giant screen. And Mike Todd, at the time that he developed this for Oklahoma, he was dating Elizabeth Taylor. And after Mike Todd died in that plane crash, that's when Debbie Reynolds' husband, Eddie Fisher, started having the affair with Elizabeth Taylor because Elizabeth Taylor, Mike Todd, Eddie Fisher, Debbie Reynolds were all best friends. And that's just a side Hollywood history fact. But another
What a
thing
story it
I
is.
know. And then Elizabeth Taylor comes back to nearly run 20th Century Fox into the ground in 1963. So
Boo.
I know. But another reason that they used Todd AO was developed was because in 1945, Rodgers and Hammerstein wrote State Fair for 20th Century Fox. And they did not like how they were treated. They did not like what they did to their music, how they were kind of manhandled and manipulated into different contracts that they did not like. So they left Hollywood in 1945. I've watched the documentary, but I can't completely. I feel like it might have been Mike Todd who coaxed them to come back to Hollywood with the promise of Todd AO, which was very. I mean, it's a very like theatrical, not film theatrical, but like stage theatrical experience if you're watching it on a big screen because at 70 millimeter, it's so crisp, the colors are so vibrant, and the screen is massive. Before we go, I want to cite my sources real fast. So, The Sound of Music, The Making of America's Favorite Movie by Julia Antipol Hirsch is where I got my information, and of course Wikipedia as well. Any
Oh,
book
I
that
can,
you
yeah, I
read?
can cite my sources too. It's the book is Homework by Julie Andrews with Emma Walton Hamilton, her daughter, also additionally helped with that. And then the main fact
Amazing.
site that I got, it was an article from Broadway.com, and
Mhm.
it was an article written in 2015, and it's a 50 fun facts for the 50th in honor of the 50th anniversary of the Sound of Music film. So those are my two sources, but a majority of it comes from the with Julie Andrews' Homework, and it's in chapters 3 and 4 in her book.
Okay, amazing, amazing. Yes, so definitely go check out that if you like Julie Andrews, if you like what we talked about today. Okay, before we go, always go watch, stream a new classic movie. It doesn't have to be Sound of Music. It doesn't have to be anything that we talked about. There's a lot of studios, a lot of boutique labels who are doing great big restorations on these classic films to make sure you can see them as they were originally meant to be seen on HBO Max, on TCM. You can go buy them on Blu-ray and DVD if that's your thing of collecting physical media. That's my thing. So always, if you hear a comment today, there were a lot of them made, or a historical comment or something that you'd like to add to, or if you're not completely sure if that's true and you'd like to fact check us, please be kind, but you can always write to the HollywoodBabylonians at gmail.com. That's TheHollywoodBabylonians at gmail.com. And we might read your letter on the air. Wouldn't that be exciting? And hit us up on Instagram at the Hollywood Babylonians. We'll be posting this on YouTube at the Hollywood Babylonians, on TikTok, the Hollywood Babylonians. Go follow us there. And be sure to cinematically scintillate and go out and watch a new classic movie. Until next time, this is
Rachel Lind
and Ben Burke. Thank you for listening to
the Hollywood Babylonians. Hey!
Hey! You have been listening to the Hollywood Babylonians. The Hollywood Babylonians is produced, edited, and written by Ben Burke and co-hosted by Rachel Lind. Research by Ben Burke and Rachel Lind. Artwork by Ben Burke and Jamie Lee. Sources include The Sound of Music, The Making of America's Favorite Movie by Julia Antipol Hirsch. Homework, a memoir of my Hollywood years by Julie Andrews, and Wikipedia. If you liked what you heard today, be sure to follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube for more Hollywood Babylonians content. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe. Tune in next week as we explore another classic film out of the golden age of Hollywood and the history behind it. Thank you for listening and have a good night.